do, everyone? It's me. I'm back with another shoe review. And I'm not quite sure how I even want to approach this. In this video, I'm obviously going to be reviewing the new Brooks Hyperion Max 2, which comes out, by the way, on July 1st. So, what's today? The 22nd, so a little less than 2 weeks away. I'm very excited for it. I plan to get a pair for myself, but right now, special shout out to Courtney from Brooks, our rep here in Pittsburgh. She hooked us up with some nice demo shoes, as she almost always does. She's our best rep. I'm not to like harp on Brooks, but you know, they really hook us up. They treat us very nice over here. Last year, she actually did hook me up with a pair of the original Hyperion Maxes. Obviously, we're going to get into this shoe, but I also think it's fair to kind of compare it to last year's version and see what differences there are, if any, good, bad, anything in between. I think overall it's not very different, but I kind of like where they took it, so let's get into that. First off, if you're not familiar with the Brooks Hyperion Max, it's meant to sort of be this sort of fast, versatile, rolly shoe. It's got a lot of bounce to it. It's very responsive. I don't know if you can tell by the tread on this one. This is actually my pair that I've had for over a year now at this point. I wore it to death and definitely put at least 100 more miles on it than I should have, but I think that speaks for itself. It was very durable, it held up very nicely, but yeah, I've definitely killed the tread at this point. I shouldn't be running it anymore, but I occasionally take it out for a little spin, you know. I'd wager that I got at least 300 miles on it. I don't think it's supposed to go that long, but I didn't have any problems with it, and you know, cases may vary from person to person. I guess the biggest difference between the two shoes is definitely going to be the fact that the original Hyperion Max is just no plate at all. It's very similar to the Asics Nova Blast. It's probably its best competitor if I had to wager. The Nova Blast is definitely a little softer, a little more cushy, but once again, I haven't even ran in the Hyperion Max 2. We're going to take that out later when it cools down. It's like 95 degrees right now with a feel of even higher than that. It's been abysmal. So the new Hyperion Max 2 has a nylon plate in it, which I'm okay with. I kind of like that. I like what Brooks is doing with this shoe. I think they turned a very good shoe into an even better shoe. I guess its closest competitor would be this Saucony Speed 4. I actually own this shoe as well and really enjoy it. It's kind of soft as well. I kind of like that, and I feel like when I wear this later, it's going to have a similar sort of ride and feel. It looks much cushier. I know they put more cushion into it, so let's get into that. When you even look at the two shoes to compare, you can just tell that the sole is a little bit thicker on this guy, and that's not an illusion, it's true. The forefoot here now sits 6 millimeters higher than the original and 4 millimeters higher here in the heel. So the heel toe drop is actually a little bit different. The original Hyperion had an 8 millimeter drop. The new one's got a 6, and anything in like the 6 to 8 range, I think generally speaking, is probably where you want to be. I think when you get really low, you run into issues, and when you get really high into like the 12 millimeter range, you can run into other issues. So like 6 to 8, that's like the perfect ground in my opinion. I like that as well. Like pretty much all Brooks shoes these days, they have this nitrogen-infused technology that they shove into the midsole here, whether it be the DNA Loft or the DNA Flash. The original just had the DNA Flash, and it's since been upgraded to the DNA Flash V2. Once again, a softer, more durable, more efficient ride. It's got more pop in the step. It's gonna kind of roll you a bit more efficiently. I'm excited to wear it tonight. And according to Brooks, it's 10% more responsive. I don't know how they measure that. Aesthetically, I thought the old one was a little bit uglier, but I give it extra points because it's a black and gold sort of color. I mean, you gotta rep the Berg, right? It had such a good ride, and I remember taking it out for pretty much, it became my medium long run shoe. So basically, generally every Thursday I would do my second longest run of the week when I was marathon training, and I had a blast using this thing. It definitely, I supinate quite a bit. I kind of fall to the outside, and some shoes have the tendency to push me out a little bit further than others. This one was a bit of a culprit. It didn't bother me, but I definitely noticed it. I don't know if that happened to anyone else. I mean, you can just tell by the tread on the shoe. I landed heavily on the outside. Overall, the rubber at the bottom held up nicely. Speaking of the rubber on the bottom, it looks about the same. I mean, there's nothing really to note there. I don't think they were trying to do anything innovative. I think they liked where they were at. Along with the nylon plate, I mean, you can see it right here. I don't know if that's actually it. I'm not like the engineer or if it's underneath, but regardless, it's called the Speed Vault here, and it works with this rapid rocker. I mean, this is one of the most pronounced rockers you can find in a shoe, in my opinion. And the old one was very pronounced. This one looks even more pronounced. But when you hear rocker, I always tell people just think of efficiency. That's what it wants you to do. It's very efficient from that heel to toe, regardless of how you land, whether it be on the heel or the midfoot or the forefoot. It's going to give you this smooth transition all the way to the front. It's a very nice feeling. Yeah, I mentioned wearing the shoe for my medium long runs. It's just such a versatile shoe, though. You don't have to use it for that. You can use it for easier runs if you want to, though. Now that it has a nylon plate, I'm not a big proponent on taking plated shoes out for junk miles, right? I mean, if you want to do it, go for it. I do it sometimes when I'm really tired. Kind of gives you more pep in your step, right? It's nice. A carbon plated shoe, definitely don't put junk miles on them because that'll really fuck up your arch, and it's like taking out like a luxury car, and that's no bueno. You don't want to put junk miles on a luxury car. I mean, it's good for long runs too. It's obviously good for workouts, whether you're going to the track or doing something on gravel or road, or if you want to run a marathon or some 5K or whatever race in between, it's good for that as well. Definitely don't recommend it for single track though. Don't be hiking the Himalayas in those. That's not going to work. Some other subtle intricacies as well. You've got the change in the tongue and the laces. So the tongue, first and foremost, I never really had an issue with it, but I could see where people were coming from. I looked at other reviews on the original Hyperion Max. The tongue was more, I guess, old-fashioned for lack of a better term. It's just it's a shoe tongue, you know. It can kind of move around and dig into you in certain ways, into that upper, and it can get a little uncomfortable depending on, you know, what you're doing or the shape of your foot. The new one is more stealth fitty. It kind of fits more like a sock. I don't know how else to describe it. It kind of snaps into place, you know. It's much nicer, and I can definitely see, like, if you look on the inside, it just doesn't have any wiggle room to kind of dig into places that can be a little annoying. Laces are also a little bit different. They're flat like they were in the last iteration, but now they have these tiny little grooves in them just to kind of keep them from coming untied. I don't recall having any issues with them coming untied in the old ones, but little subtle details like this do add up, and they mean a lot, and I like what they're doing. The new upper is a little bit nicer. I thought the old upper was kind of weird. I mean, it felt breathable, but it felt tarp-like. It's another thing I don't really know how to describe, but it just felt weird. Felt like it didn't have as much give. This looks a lot nicer and much more up-to-date, more modern. I like how it says Brooks on the side. Obviously, the aesthetic looks a lot cleaner. I mean, this is just like a really nice shoe. Like, this is like totally me, and I really like it. But once again, we are looking at a July 1st release date for this guy. Getting close. It's that time of year when a lot of shoes start kind of dropping. It's a very exciting time of the year for people who like shoes. Another thing, price-wise, it's going to be $180, which I think this is much more suitable now that it has a plate. The old one was $170, and that's coming without a plate, which was kind of pricey. I think that really hurt it because no one wants to buy a non-plated shoe for $170. I know it didn't sell particularly well here. Compare it to something again like the Nova Blast. I mean, this is literally just the closest you can get to the original Hyperion. No plate, but it was $140. So in my opinion, was superior, but with the nylon plate, $180 I can swing. That's pretty on par with the Course. Also, because there is more cushion in it, I mean, they increased the stack height a little bit, all that good stuff. It is going to be a slightly heavier shoe. We're talking ounces here, but I don't think you'll be able to feel much of a difference. We'll see. It looks like, I'm guessing this is for like a women's size 8 and a men's size 9. 8.1 ounces for women and 9.1 ounces for men, whereas the old one was basically like a full ounce plus lighter. if I remember correctly. And because I feel like I've been super positive and I feel like some corporate punk, you know, look at me. I just realized I'm wearing all this merch for the place I work. I didn't do that on purpose, but I'll play a little devil's advocate here. So obviously this shoe's not perfect. Nothing is, right? Maybe me. When I was wearing the original Hyperion Max, I was not the biggest fan of the tread insofar as it just didn't feel like it had the best grip. And I remember like some days I'd be running down a road pretty fast and it'd be raining and I just didn't feel as comfortable as I may have in another pair of shoes. Also, this guy was a pretty narrow cut shoe. Putting them side by side, maybe it's a little bit wider, I'm not sure. We'll just have to see. I fortunately don't have a big foot to begin with, so it's not gonna bother me regardless, but two little notes there. If you have a fat foot, you might not be the biggest fan. That's what I'm getting at. So anyway, that's kind of the review here. I'm obviously gonna take it out later and I'll get back to you on that. Out with the old, in with the new. I actually just sat down and did like this entire review talking about the specs and whatnot of the shoe. I've actually not put it on yet. So let's give it a go here. This is a size 9. This is what I'm looking for. Okay, about spot on size 9, so I guess it fits pretty true to size. Let's stand up and give them a go. They feel good. So once again, gonna try and run with this later. Still needs to cool down, but just feels nice to get them on. They're definitely cushier. They feel really nice though. I can tell I'm standing up a little bit taller in them though, which is also nice for all those short kings out there. You know who I'm talking to. Out here for the evening run with the squad, taking these beauties for a little spin. First impressions, they feel real nice, and I can tell immediately compared to the first Hyperion Max, these are heavier and softer, which was pretty self-explanatory from the review. They're just two different styles of shoes, and obviously, let's think about the plate here. I can feel it a little bit, which is fine. If it was a carbon plated shoe, I think I'd be thinking a little bit differently. One shoe that comes to mind is the SC Trainer from New Balance. I hate that thing because it's a carbon plated shoe, but you can't really feel the plate. It's like soft and it just feels redundant. Another shoe that comes to mind is also like the Endorphin Speed 3, and that shoe is fine as well, but I really thought it was way too soft. This shoe's not that soft. It's got nice bounce to it. It's firmer. It's a nice feel.
The Endorphin line has gotten soft. I think they're overcompensating because it used to be really hard. Like I can run behind you, Zachy, and I can see the tread on the shoe, like half of it, every time you run.
All right, I want to try something real quick. I do like to land on my forefoot. Sam was just talking about it, but I'm gonna try and just like heel strike a little bit more so I can feel the full transition. So.
Yeah.
You look like a fucking idiot. Roll into action with the new Brooks Hyperion Max too.
That's how you have to run to make them feel good.
Yeah, this is how you get the full transition. I'll say this. This is definitely not the fastest shoe, despite the plate that you can be wearing right now. But if you want to run a nice faster pace, like in a race or something, anywhere from, I don't know, a 5K up to a marathon, you'd be fine. It's not going to kill your arch, I don't think. I think you'll be pretty comfortable all the way through. It's a good shoe for that. A little more casual is what I'm getting at. Like if you want, like Sam just said, if you're looking to get your first pair of plated shoes and don't know where to start, want to go somewhere safe, this is the shoe right here. And for 180 bucks, that's about as cheap as it gets. 9 miles to cap a very hot and humid run. For those of you that don't know who I am or what I do, first off, I'm a nobody, but I'm training for a 50-mile ultra marathon that's happening in basically a week. So I feel like ass right now. And I just kind of struggled along through this one. I think these guys helped me get through it today. Really nice shoe. Really enjoyed my time with them once again. Lots of pop, and they do remind me quite a lot of the first ones, and I really enjoyed those as well. These are just a little bit different, obviously, so they're both really good in their own right. I don't feel like putting a number out of 10 on it. It's just a case-by-case basis, but this is definitely a shoe I will have in my rotation going forward, and that's the review. There you have it. Get it at your own risk, I suppose. If you enjoyed, make sure you subscribe and like the video. I'd really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one. I'm gonna go eat.